Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today I've got this Black Knight here. So I just recently bought this game. Guy came in my shop, said he'd had somebody working on it and they couldn't ever get it fixed and not very responsive. And he asked me if I'd buy it. And I was like, well, I'd fix it for you if you want. And he was like, I just want to get rid of it. So I bought it from him. He didn't have the board. He had to get the board back. He got the board back. Put it in here, and it's showing a U25 RAM error. So U25 is the RAM chip. It's this one right here. Somebody has replaced it with an NVRAM, but it's given an error. I've got some regular 6264, not the NVRAMs laying around, but I've got some 6264s laying around. I put one of those in there, got the same error. So I've already read on the Wikipedia page, there are several things that can cause this error. One of them being a low 5 volts. 5 volts is a little low, but it's not, I don't think it's low enough to cause this. It's like 4.92, a little lower than I'd like to see, but I don't think that's the cause of the problem. There's some other stuff that could be causing it in the reset search section. But the first thing I'm gonna do is, because somebody has soldered on this board, put in the socket holder and or the sockets, and so I'm gonna just make sure that the soldering was done properly and make sure all those have continuity and find the other end of the pin and make sure everything's soldered and there's not a bridge between two of them or something stupid like that, because that's the most likely scenario at this point. Is, you know, somebody's previous work is the most likely culprit usually. Well, it's always the most likely culprit. It's not always the culprit, but we'll find out. I'm gonna start. So I'm gonna yank this board out of here, take it to the bench, and start probing around with the multimeter. Okay, so I got this on the bench. I took the chip out. Let's first kind of look at the bottom of it. And it doesn't look real bad. Like that one there. Let me zoom in a little bit for y'all. A little bit more, maybe. You see that one? I don't know how well it shows up, but it's kind of convex looking, which means it may not have sucked that solder through the via to the other side, because, you know, most of the traces are on the other side of the board. There's very few that are attached to the bottom, like that one there, and that one there. A couple, there's probably one's 5 volt, one's ground. Anyway, so next I'm gonna flip this board over and I'm going to just make sure that each one of the top of these sockets is attached to something. Like that one on the screen. See that? Sometimes I'll go to this chip here. Okay, it's going to that leg there. Yeah. Oh, it also goes to that point right there. That one probably goes there. Yep. So far, so good. This one, it's hard to see with this camera in the way. So it goes up around, looks like it goes to W5. So that may be a problem. Although W5 is not being used, so maybe it's not. That one is going this way. Okay, so it's making it off. That one's going this way. Those two are tied together. Huh. That's suspicious. Maybe they're supposed to be. That one looks like, okay, that one goes up to there. That's suspicious. Check that out. That one runs to there. That one, geez, it goes it goes underneath that cap and doesn't come back out unless it goes to one end. Maybe there's a via right underneath it or something. If I can find it here on the back side of the board. I think that's it right there. That's about where my finger was at. Geez, I'm not gonna be able to film this, but I don't even know if I can do it, period. So it's that one there. Well, I don't know. Another question mark. So let's go to the top here. Okay. That one looks dead. It goes from there right, I mean, you see the line right to there. That one's not connected. Had a couple other funny things, but that one looks very conclusively bad. Where does this one go? It comes through. It may go onto this next chip. It goes to one of these. Does it come at the top also? No. It only goes this way. It runs through that one. Ah, losing my glasses. I think that one's dead also. Jesus. Can't keep my glasses on. So that one's connected on the back side of the board because there's nothing on the top. I'm tempted to just take the whole things off and redo it. I think there's several of them that are not very well done. Just looking at the solder on the underside, like that first one there, I don't know if y'all can see that, it's kind of dry looking. I may take these off, and you know, the more times you do it, the harder it gets, the more likely you're going to tear up traces. And this board is an easy one to pull the traces up on. I may put in one and kind of high water it, so if need be, I can tack it down on the top and make sure that I'm getting good connection with these traces, because there's several. Well, there's that one there is definitely bad, and there's a couple other questions. There was a short between two of them over here. I need to get the schematics out and verify that those are supposed to be shorted together. Probably are, I'd guess, but because I didn't see any obvious short on the back, and I'm looking underneath them, I don't see any short underneath them either. So, or it could be another problem downstream on the board, but I guess maybe I'll start with that. If I don't have to do both sides, I'll only do one side. And I might just try heating them up and reflowing them a little bit, putting a little extra heat and some fresh solder. I mean, this was done recently, but maybe I'll try this, just see if I can reconnect this first one here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's that one right there. I'd say it's not very shiny. It's shiny and it's sucked down because I can see I added solder and it's still looking pretty low, so it flowed through. Let's see if we got that one fixed. Still not connected. So it could be that trace underneath there is bad, or the pad, which means, you know, repairing that whole thing. So I think of the thing to do is I'm gonna remove these, and then I can actually see what's going on. So I'm not gonna use my hack up for this because these things are pretty delicate, and I am better on the delicate stuff using my manual pump. Yeah, those are coming out cleanly. Well, as soon as I said that, this one didn't. I think it's attached to that ground or 5-volt pad there, which kind of sucks the heat and makes it harder to get it off. Gotta leave more dwell to get that whole strip heated up so it doesn't like cool down instantly. And you gotta suck it off as fast as you can. You do this 2 or 3 times and you'll fry that pad too. There you go. There I go. Let's go to some fast motion. How about that? Yeah, I got those desoldered. I'm just going to give it a little wiggle. So if there's any remaining, it will just kind of break it free, but not yank until I get it really wiggly. All right, that one seemed to come up okay. We'll see when I flip the board over. This one has a couple that are maybe still stuck in there. Yeah. Well, that one looks, yeah, I think that I saw the whole thing move then. Okay. Can't hardly get my fingers on this one. It's right up against another chip. Having a hard time grabbing it. All right. Hopefully this thing's gonna look all right when we pull it over. Okay. So let's go back to this one that was for sure bad. Now you can really see it from there to there. See, that's open. So there's I can't really see the break, but there is a break because there's no continuity. So this board's never going to boot. I mean, just from that alone. And there was a couple others that were funny. There was a couple that were shorted together over here. Those two. I need to check those. I need to check all of them. Now I can really check and I can see where they're going. So I'm going to check them all again. This one's going to have to be fixed. And so that could be, like, fortunately, there's this via here. So I could probably just on the back of the board go from here to there and put a jumper. Or I could try to scratch this and do a blob of solder over there. I think I prefer the former. So I think that's that little via there. So if I put a jumper between there and, it's the fourth one, I think. Right there and there, that would fix that one. I guess I could have done that without yanking the whole thing out. I kind of wanted to see everything, and really makes it easier for me to figure out all the errors. So I'm going to go through this one more time. I'm not going to bore y'all with it to death. I'm going to go through and I'm going to try to make sure that every one of these are good. I'm going to get out the schematics. I'll bring y'all in when I put the schematics, those two that are tied together, see if they're supposed to be tied together or not. Okay, so I think I've found all the errors. So those two there are not connected. I'm going to zoom in here. You can actually see it if I get real close. That black there, that's a magic marker, but there's a minuscule little gap, and the one to the right of it's a little bit bigger. I may try to fix this on the top of the board before I put it in there, and then if it's not fixed, then I can put a jumper on the back side. So those two need to be fixed. This game would not boot like that. And the other two, those two there with the two marks right to the right of my finger, those two are tied together, and I don't quite understand that yet. I'm trying to figure out why they are. It may be due to these jumpers here, but I don't think so. I think that may be an error. I'm not positive yet. I'm gonna research that a little bit more, and I'll get back to you. So I've been staring at the board and the schematics a little bit longer, and I don't exactly know what's wrong, but well, I kind of know what's wrong. So it's 22, this one here, and 23 are tied together. Well, 22 goes to ground, as does 2 and 14. Those are all grounded. 23 is also grounded, so I can go between those two are 22 and 23, between there and corner of the board, and they're dead short, all of them. So here's the interesting thing. I haven't tracked it down yet. So I've got jumper W6 on this board, and that's somebody set that up so that allows for 6264 RAM instead of 6116 RAM. So anyway, the W6 jumper is in, the W5 is not. So the 23 goes to the W6, goes to the jumper, and then, so it's getting to ground somehow. But here's the interesting part. It's also tied, or should be tied, to 26, 24, or 26 and 28. It is not. That point there, so, because those are not grounded. So something's funny with the jumper. I don't know. It looks like it's in the right holes, but it's really kind of hard to see. So I am going to, I'm going to pull that jumper out of there and maybe be able to see a little bit better once it's out. So here's the jumper I'm talking about. It looks like it's in the right place, but it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to take it out, and maybe these are bridged. Once I get it out of the way, I think maybe it'll be clearer. All right, so I took that jumper out of there, and the short goes away between 23 there and the ground. So here's the weird thing about this. So that 23, it runs up to right there, and then the jumper takes it over to that one there, that left pad there. And so that is tied right to 14. And 14 is ground on this board. I'll show you here. Got the 14 is ground. But that left pin right there, that one should be tied to 26 and 28. It is not. And you know, this is 11B, and I confirmed this is an 11B board. It's not like an 11A or something funny like that. So I don't know what to think. Either probably just the schematics are wrong. I don't know. I'm tempted to just go ahead and use the W5 jumper and put a 6116 in there. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll confirm that the other side of that W5 is connected. Well, where's it going here? It's going off the page. I have to find it at 4D3A13 and see if it's connected to that, because this one is not as drawn. That the W6, that jumper does not tie to that side of that resistor and basically tie between those two diodes. And these two do go between those two diodes. So I don't know what to think about it. Kind of weird. Okay, so I don't know what to think about that one side of there going to ground instead of doing what the schematics say, but I'm going to ignore that for the now. I'm going to solder in these two series of sockets. I'm also putting basically little socket pins for the jumpers, so I can decide which way I want to go. If the W6 jumper doesn't work, I'll go to the W5 and use the 6116. And I'm going to fix those two those two pins that are not connected to the traces. After I get on, I'm going to put a jumper on the back of the board. So I've got the sockets put in there. Those two right there are, I buzzed everything out. Everything's attached where it ought to be attached, except for those two are still disconnects on the back. I'm going to put one from there to the right of my fingernail to that little via there, and from that one, wherever it goes, I'm going to look at schematics. Hopefully the schematics are right on that one and figure out which pin it's supposed to go to. Or I may scratch it off just a little conformal coating on here so I can verify for sure where it goes. And then I'll put a jumper on the back side of the board between where the solder point of the pin and the solder point on some other pin. So I just scratched that a little bit right there, and I can confirm it goes to that pin right there. So I'll go from here to that same place here and make sure I'll put a jumper from the bottom of that pin to the bottom of that pin, and from bottom of that pin to the bottom of that via there. Or I could come up, maybe I'll put it to the pin instead. Yeah, I'll do that. So from the third and fourth pin here to the third and fourth pin here. So pretty simple. And just confirm that on the schematics. P3 is A7 and A7 is 3. And 4 is A6 and A6 is 4. So it's just a 1-to-1. All right, got a 3 tied to 3 and 4 tied to 4. I'm going to go ahead and knock these the tabs from the old battery holder, because at least one of them has got some corrosion on it. And yeah, that one there is still kind of corroded. Just best to get off the board. It would have a long way to get off there, but if it's not on the board, it can't eat. Check this out. Factory settings, it's booted. So what I didn't show you is when I first put it in there, I had this 6264 chip. I'll get it to focus. And I also had this jumper, and I've got it, I don't have it permanently in there. It's just like a really long 0 ohm resistor. I had it on the W6 settings, which is the left and the left. Right now it's in the W5, which is for the 6116. That's the chip I've got in there. So set up for the 6264, it did not work. I mean, it could have been this chip. I didn't try another one. I've got several. This is the chip that came in this game. I didn't purchase it. I just buy these generically because, like, you can get them for like, I don't know, 50 cents a piece. I buy them in bulk. But anyway, this chip didn't work on the W6 setting. But again, the W6 setting doesn't follow the schematic unless I'm totally missed it. And if I did, somebody tell me. Or it looks like it's not the same. But for the W5 setting and with the 6116, it's booted. So I'm going to leave it like this. I may have to pull the board and put a battery on here, put a battery holder on here. Either that or get a NVRAM 6116. I'll probably just put a coin cell battery on there. I don't have any problem within the coin cells. That's a good solution for me. I don't have any NVRAM 6116s. I don't think they make those. So for those, you have to get like I don't think they have the through-hole socket ones. They have like the miniature ones, and you have to have like a converter board. Like Pennytech sells them, but they're like 30, 40 bucks a piece. I don't think they sell them natively, unless you find an old school one, or maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they never made them. I don't know, but I think they're hard to get. So in any case, this problem is solved. If I turn it off and on, well, I was going to say if I turn it off and on again, it'll go away, but I don't have a battery hooked up, so that's not true. I still don't know if everything else is working because I don't have anything plugged in except for the display. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make sure that this thing was booted, and it is. How about I do one more thing? How about I plug the rest of the stuff in? Well, I'm not going to do that because I'm gonna yank this board out and put a coin cell battery on there, and I've shown that lots of times in lots of videos, so I'm not going to put that on this video. I'll keep this one kind of short. So anyway, this problem is solved, and again, it's like a lot of times if you've got a problem, always question somebody else's work. I mean, if I'm working on something and all of a sudden it starts messed up, I certainly question my own work, so why wouldn't I question everybody else's work? I mean, that was the problem here, although it's, yeah, so there was actually maybe two issues. I still don't know whether this chip is bad. But for certain, this one was never going to work because there was 2 pads that were ripped off of the trace. Or there was a little, y'all, I showed you, there was that little tiny gap on those 2 pads. So that it was never going to work. It might not have worked ever on this 6264. I don't think that's the case because they talk about using the on PinWiki, they talk about using the W6s. I still don't understand why the schematic seems to differ from what's laid out on the board. Again, if somebody knows the answer there, please let me know. Anyway, if you like the video, subscribe, like, send it to share it with your friends, and I will see y'all on the next one. Cheers.